get our audio down to a good background level. Get it to something ready to go. And let's see if our guest is ready. Alright, we all ready to get started? Heck yeah. To the book club page. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Whether you're watching live on Twitch or joining us later on YouTube, to another episode of Twitch Book Club. I still haven't thought of a better name for it. So it's still just Twitch Book Club. I'm sure other Twitch Book Clubs exist, but this one's mine, and we here. We are here today to talk about... Okay, first question before we even get into it. Do you say Katabasis or Katabasis?
It
Because
can be pronounced both ways.
that was my understanding, and I initially called it Katabasis, and then once I finished it, I watched a bunch of like booktubers and stuff talk about it, and now I say Katabasis because that seems to be the more common one.
Well, and you also have to like realize it's Greek, and like the way Greek has evolved as a language, it's pronounced very differently. I think you have a lot of the, I don't want to say elitist, but it is, they're really kind of like the academia elitist about it. They want to pronounce it one way, and then there's the other side that's like whatever about pronouncing it. I feel.
Well, and the whole theme of elitism in academia and in books in general is heavily intertwined in the discourse about this book, which we will get into as we talk about it today.
Yes.
So yes, this is I'm gonna say Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. It is her latest release. It came out this year in August.
Okay.
It was our September read for Twitch Book Club. And we here to chat about it, and I actually took notes this time. And I tried really hard because there's two booktubers I watch pretty much all their videos, and I had to like avoid one of them's video, including this book, because I was like, I don't want it to influence my opinion because I respect their opinion so much, and if I watch one of their videos on a book first, it will like heavily influence me reading, like my experience while reading. And then it was very interesting because then after having read it, having my first thoughts and watching their videos after, we had some things we agreed on, some things we were like very differing opinions on, and I wrote down what those opinions were, and we'll get into them later.
I don't actually watch any book talkers and stuff. I don't follow any of them because I find like it's good that we have book talk and book Twitter and like all that. I do think it's fine, but it's created this elitism in reading now, and I don't like how that is happening, because reading books, literature, any kind of form of any reading that you do, it's so much focus on how much you're reading per month and everything now too, and not just, oh, I'm really enjoying this book, and maybe I'm not going to touch another book for a couple of months. There's so much that goes into about reading now, and I almost kind of feel like I'm being forced to read at times. Sometimes I feel like I'm back in high school with having to do the
yeah. Well, that's why one of the things about this book was you saw, I mostly watch booktubers, like people who were on YouTube before book talk was a thing, because I think some of those, like those attitudes and that kind of the undertones you're talking about, like the rampant consumerism and the whole, it's like, I have to be reading X number of books to be a real, like, book girly or whatever. It's less present because they've been doing it on YouTube before book talk exploded in popularity on TikTok. But one of the things when this book was coming out was there was a trend. It's like, here's all the pre-reading and here's all the things you should do to be informed.
I want to this for everyone watching this, whether it be live or on the VOD. You do not, for this and babble, in any kind of book where people come in and go, you have to read these prerequisites
Lies.
of literature
Lies.
and philosophy. You do not. And here's my opinion. I come from a background of academia. Hi, my name's Marjorie. I actually major in music and have a minor in philosophy, and music history and philosophical discussions and stuff are kind of like my favorite things, especially because eventually I plan to go into the music history side of my degree and research basically and publish and stuff. So I kind of feel like this and Babel are right up my alley when it comes to reading. And I think too, one of the things, because I kind of did after I finished reading, I went and did like some perusing through socials and stuff, and I really think a lot of the PR this book got sent to were people it shouldn't have been sent to at all,
I agree.
actually.
So many people hating
Because
on this book. It wasn't written for you. I could have
they
told you
see
already you wouldn't like
the
it.
dark academia fans like the sexual side of dark academia books. They like the smut in those
They
books.
want
This
romantasy
is
in an
not.
academic setting. They don't actually know what the true
Well,
dark
it's not
academia
even
genre
romantasy.
originated as.
They want the sexual stuff that happens in dark academia, because let's be real, especially because we've talked about this too in the previous series when I've been able to be around too, is that, a lot of the books, whether it be sexual, romantasy, or anything that has like a spicy scene and stuff in these books, you know 50 Shades of Grey really kind of brought all of that to the forefront. And then you get Sarah J. Maas with her series, also brought that to the forefront with Akatar and everything. So everyone is kind of just building off of that. And it's great. I do like how this is a thing, especially because, and this is a thing too, that is also a theme in Katabasis, is the sexual liberation of women, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And in a way, we are in another sexual liberation of women again in 2025, really everywhere. And sorry for my bird.
All good.
But it is good, but I think because there's a lot of people who they really do like the smut and the spiciness and stuff, and I'm one of those that I'm very more critical about. Well, yes, I do like it, but if it's there just to be there, I hate it. I read a book recently this year where it was just like that everywhere. It was like every couple of chapters, like maybe one or two, and then it was like smut all over again. A couple of chapters, the plot, smut. And I hated it. Loved the plot. Hated how there was just spice for no reason. Um, and stuff. And a lot of publishers are pushing that on their writers too, because it sells.
It
That's
sells.
true. Sex sells. That is a known thing in any kind of entertainment industry, unfortunately, and stuff. And so I think that a lot of the people who like dark academia, they like the side of it that is sensual and sexual, and this side of it is not. This is strictly the, yes, there is their love, yes, but it is not the forefront of the plot. And I think a lot of people were disappointed by that. It was really the afterthought. It came in at the end, really,
Mm-hmm.
and everything, because Alice finally goes, "Oh, I do love him." But that's only after, this is a little spoiler for people. He's gone, basically.
Yeah.
She has this realization. And I think for some people, they didn't like that. I also don't like how a lot of people hated Alice. And I need people to realize this is set during the 1980s.
A lot of people seem to miss that layer when talking about, it's like, this
And
isn't set in 2025, so what she's going through, while still relatable and people go through similar experiences with
yes.
academia and authority figures, still wildly different in the 80s, and
Well,
being one of the only women in a field in the
and
80s, like.
well, and also you have to remember too, if you look back on history, women took a rise in being able to own themselves during the war efforts of World War II and everything. And then after the war, and even during the Vietnam War and the Korean War, they were still expected to be homeowner, like homebodies. They were the
Yeah.
wives at home, waiting like for their husbands to come back from the war effort or come back from their work, and then they were there being housewives and mothers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you also have, from the child boom of that, you have the women who are like Alice's parents, like her mother and stuff, you know, they're a little bit becoming more independent. And then at the 80s, there's like this lull in independency in women.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle because there's sexism in academia. And if anyone tells you there is not sexism here in 2025 in academia,
Lies.
it is still
Lies.
there. I have faced it so much.
As someone who also has 2 post-secondary degrees, can confirm.
and also in academia, you have women pitted against women. You are pitted against each other because we all want to make a name for ourselves, and some women will just throw their women colleagues under the bus in order to get that step in, to be like, oh look, I'm at the same level as my male colleagues.
Yep.
And stuff. And so it's just a vicious vicious community and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So
Agreed. So yeah, it was also interesting because along with avoiding, I said, those specific creators' videos because I knew they'd influence me. I managed to avoid most of the discourse in general. Like I knew there was going to be some because R.F. Kuang is one of those authors. Whenever she publishes, people get very polarized and very divisive about her works, and either like, this is the greatest thing ever, or this is so overhyped, it's ridiculous. And one of the common criticism I saw that I disagree with, people who are reading it, they're like, this just reads like her works cited page. This is her just like flexing how much she knows. It's just name dropping of sources. I'm like, what book are you reading? There's a whole ass three-dimensional beautiful story in here. How can you say that? Like,
because my bone to pick with that, because I saw this a lot, was people were pulling out that because she's Asian American and she had all these postgraduate degrees. Why are we focusing on her race and her postgraduate degrees? Like,
also, the main characters of the book are people where academia is their whole raison d'etre. It is their life. It is their driving force. It is their greater purpose. They're going to talk about it. They're going to reference their knowledge in everyday life. It's, again, my whole family on my dad's side are all academics, like very well-known professors, award-winning professors, invited to speak all over the world. This is how academics are. This is what they talk like. This is so true.
People were bringing up R.F. Kuang's race and then her knowledge and like her degrees and stuff, and you know, I'm going to use my platform as a white woman privilege to be like, y'all do not get this loud about white women who have this many degrees and stuff.
Or a male author. If a male author was writing like this, they'd be like, oh, look how educated, look how intelligent, look how so smart.
Yeah, blah 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 blah, we love this, there's no discourse. But the moment a person of color who has as many degrees and so much knowledge and stuff, it's all this discourse about it, and it's like, y'all are some shitty people. I'm sorry. Like, you go from this one thought where a white or a like white male or white woman author who has just as many accolades and stuff, y'all don't judge. But the moment it's a person of color, because R.F. Kuang is not the only one who has gotten this criticism. It's been a lot of BIPOC writers within the last, I would say the last 2 years so far. I've seen so much discourse from white readers especially. And then the moment like a BIPOC person speaks up, they get all upset about it and everything. And it's like, I need y'all to sit down and y'all need to have a discussion about your racism. I'm sorry. Because if you're sitting there having this discourse, you're racist. I'm just going to say it.
100%. And that combined with, at the end of the day, if you're reading a book that's in like true dark academia genre, not dark academia light, and you are someone who is turned off by academic references or like relating to other source material, then you're reading the wrong genre. Go read something else. Like, you are in the wrong place here. Because I think like a lot of people, because I then fell into the rabbit hole of watching other videos about the genre of dark academia in general, and like the true progenitor texts, and like some of the seminal texts in the genre are like The Secret History by Donna Tartt, If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and now like Babel's one of the newer ones that has become like a cornerstone of the genre. Like, they are all about talking specifically about the dark sides of academia, the competition, the elitism, the strain it takes on the human psyche, and how it can change you.
You also have in this book tackles it. It's where your advisor can abuse you.
Because you are putting yourself wholly in a position of subservience to someone else in so many ways.
Can abuse you emotionally, mentally, or sexually, as we saw with Alice. Alice was sexually assaulted by her advisor. And that was actually one of the things, and this is a trigger warning. Just, I'm going to put that. I should have said it.
I'll put it in the video description when this goes on YouTube.
this is something that you don't need to just be a femme presenting person to be sexually assaulted in academia by your advisor. You can be male presenting and be sexually assaulted by your advisor. They could be a male advisor, woman advisor, non-binary. It doesn't matter what gender you and your advisor are. You can be taken advantage of in so many different ways, and your work can be taken by your advisor and published without you being credited, actually.
Which happens in this
It
book.
does
Yeah,
happen.
their advisor does it to Peter's work and is like, well, Peter's not here. I'm just going to publish a shit. Take credit for it.
And I also, one of the things I also like, because after I read Katabasis, I did actually watch back the press tour. And I did read some of the press articles R.F. Kuang did. And this book is really a love relationship between her and her husband. Because
Oh.
Peter has the same chronic illness as Peter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And everything. Yeah, so this.
Well, that's interesting.
So there's been a lot of double-sided with people about not liking it or feeling like it's a self-insert. In a way, it is.
Yeah.
In ways, it's not, you know. But I feel like this is just one of those. This is her way of showing her love to her husband, who's also in academia as well.
Well, also criticizing academia, because again, you can be a part of a structure and still love parts of it, but be able to point out its flaws. Like, you can still be in pursuit of like degrees in higher academia, and they be part of your goals or like steps to whatever your like life journey looks like, while being highly critical of the institution and knowing that it needs to be changed. And it's funny, the chronic illness part of it, with once we get Peter's story combined with the portrayal of these personalities. Like I said, I grew up my whole life surrounded by people in higher academia. Almost every single person, everyone on my dad's side, going back like 2-3 generations, women included, are university professors. And then my mom was also highly educated, multiple degrees. I was surrounded by that, and my dad in particular made no secret of Grimes reminded me a lot of my dad, not in the ways like, oh, he's a creepy, horrible predator, but in the, like, seeing higher academia as, like, the most noble pursuit a human being can do, and, like, this is the greatest thing we're doing with our lives, and being, like, in this upper echelon of humanity. That is very much the attitude a lot of my family carry around. So that, and then the chronic illness representation of someone trying to pursue a degree while having a debilitating illness, as again someone who has 2 degrees but also has fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. I related so heavily to that as well, and I think those 2 factors combined were like, there's no way I was gonna dislike this book. There's no way it was getting less than like a 3.5 stars for me, for sure. I'd say I'm still torn. It lands somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. Like, I don't know if it's fully a 4, but 3.5 feels too low. Yeah.
This was my most anticipated read of this year.
Mine too.
And
because Babel's a 5 for
me.
me. Babel is one of those books that like changed the way I see the world, and Babel changed, like, enhanced my love of language and things. So I was comparing it to Babel a lot in the back of my head, and I also think that might have been its downfall, because I don't know what is going to measure up to Babel for me, to be honest.
I'm so glad I didn't read Babel and I'm reading it second.
Yeah.
Like, then I'll compare them both, because they do tackle some of the same themes.
There's overlap
when it comes to race and stuff, because Alice is Asian American, and then what's his name? Robin is also from China. And so there's a lot of the tackling of racism and stuff in both of the books and everything. So that's been really, really good. So far comparison I've been able to find and everything. And also, like, you still have the whole academia, how it can still compares in both books. Yeah. There's still themes together that go together and stuff.
If anyone watching this later is a captions user, I don't know why, but it seems like suddenly only mine are working. Yeah, it just stopped. Mine stopped. So apologies. You only get my captions. Like, I'm so sorry. It was like, working, and it was working so nicely. Stopped.
I don't know why.
If you want, I can send you another link, but then if they crash again, we'll just be like, it is what it is. So just go ahead and close that tab, and I'll send you another link. Bear with me. Camera's gonna get weird for a second because of the way I capture things. I'm sure there's a better, more professional way, but who cares? It's my stream. There we go. So hopefully those work.
Great. Oh, well,
but it's working.
It worked. I just spelled my name wrong.
Oh, that's so
funny. My name was being spelled wrong at TwitchCon.
It's fine. Okay. Oh no, that's not fine. That sucks.
Everything's okay.
So I think where this is missing, that I think for my personal taste that would have taken it to a 5, there was 2 main things. The first one, and let me know if you agree, is I felt like the pacing was a bit off, because like the first few circles of hell are so like we spend more time in them and they're much better described, and I didn't expect every circle of hell to get that same treatment, because the book would be like another probably 200-300 pages if we did, but it still felt like the last few circles all blended together. They were hella rushed. I can't differentiate like the last 3 in my head in terms of like setting or real vibes. Like she kind of just blitz through them, and I know narratively why we had to do that, but I just felt like I wanted that level of attention, or at least differentiation, that we got in the first like 4 for all the circles.
Was fine, because you have to also remember the descent to hell is a descent into madness.
True.
And you know, the moment she loses Peter is, I think, when that descent into madness really clicks for her. And now she's also out for revenge as well. So there's 2 different journeys happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Because as we know, the whole descent into hell is just the theme of relation back into academia as hell. Yeah. And everything. But you also have to remember that Katabasis itself is a motif. It's hell in different cultures and languages all have different things. Like for the Greek and the Roman, it's the underworld. For those who follow Christian religions, it's hell and stuff, you know. So there's different things and everything. And so you also have like these issues that as she's descending, she's remembering stuff that she put off. She didn't want to remember, especially with Grimes sexually assaulting her, you know, and everything. So, you know, so it's like while there is to this like madness that's happening with what was that family that are also down there that they did as a magic? Yes. Yep. There's that madness. There's the loss of herself, her relationship with Peter,
and of course the effect on her mind in general. She was already beginning a descent into madness because of what's been done to her memory, which we'll talk about that later, because that part I have a whole bit about that plot point, and it is my toxic trait on full display, but we'll get into that later.
But you also, you know, for a lot of people, and it's been seen in mythology with religious books like the Bible and everything, you know, hell is seen as this place you go to if you're evil, and it really shouldn't be seen as that. You like your sins, like you have to reflect on your sins in order to have forgiveness and stuff and everything. And I think she's also like having to confront that during her entire travels as well too. So there's a lot going on during her descent.
Yeah, that definitely makes it less egregious of like an error in my mind, like thinking about framing it in that way than my first initial impression. So maybe that wouldn't have as much weight anymore. But my other main gripe at the end is I personally was like, I would kill for it. I would like open my veins and like bleed for RF Kuang to write me an epilogue. I'm like, we're gonna end it there. I don't get to know, what do they write? Do they write about what they saw down there, or how long are they able to stay together? Do they continue in magic? Do they abandon academia? I'm like, I was dying for an epilogue. I'm like, I have so many questions. Like, obviously their story, it was a decent ending point. I didn't feel like anything was unfinished, but I wanted more.
And you know, I think too that I like too is that like Peter isn't a main character really. He's there. He's like the male lead. Yeah. But he's not the focus. Yeah. And everything. I like this, not like the flashbacks we get about him and stuff, especially like what he went through with Grimes and everything. And then, you know, because you know, the entire time Alice is thinking she's the reason that she's the one who killed Grimes, and then Peter's like, no, I did. My work. He took my work and published it, so I messed up and stuff. So you were just the one copying it down, and I'm the one who really killed him and stuff. And it's like, y'all two are just like the byproduct of your advisor using you.
Yeah, because it's like, really, he killed himself because he was choosing to be so careless, and he couldn't even be bothered to
and then,
be
like,
involved in his own work. So it's like, yeah, maybe it's like you missed this one thing and you purposely left a mistake in there, but he was just as capable of catching that mistake, and he did not.
He also, I think there's also this other layer too when you look at Grimes and how he's treated his female advisees. And
Females in
Alice
general.
is yeah, well, especially the ones he's supposed to advise too, but it's like Alice is his penultimate of creations. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Yeah,
Fuck Grimes. That's all I gotta say. I love you,
mhm,
Kate.
But he sees Alice as his penultimate creation, basically, because she comes to him wanting to learn, wanting to, like, be him, basically, and everything, almost just like the female equivalent. And she's been warned by so many of her professors back in the US, by people in the program itself when she gets to the UK.
By ex-students of his, lots of people.
And she's like, no, it'll be fine. And then it's really not fine. And she just sits there and suffers. And then the fucker brands her. And she's basically able to do alchemy and magic. It's like FMA shit without having to sacrifice your brother and your limbs, you know? But, you know, she just sits there and goes, it's okay. At least I'm doing something.
I'm part of cutting edge discoveries. I'm part of the future. I'm learning.
And then when he pushes himself onto her and she does not reciprocate that and freaks out, he tosses her to the trash like he's done with every single one of his advisees when he didn't get what he wanted.
Or when he got what he wanted and was just done with them and was like, all right, I'm bored now. It is interesting that it's all his female advisees, they all meet the same end in terms of treatment from him, whether he got what he wanted from them or he didn't, which shows how disposable, like, women were, period, to him. So the ones that did give in to him and either, like, through coercion had some sort of relationship with him, or the ones like Alice who said no, same ending, doesn't matter. A unicursal path, if you will. One thing you mentioned, which was I mentioned the one creator whose video I watched about this. Shout out to the booktuber Newly Nova, or Lexi, one of my favorites. Her thoughts on Katabasis and where we disagreed. She mentioned she saw Peter as a deuteragonist. Like, Peter and Alice in her mind were equal parts main characters in this book. So she felt like Peter's story was really cut short. Because it's like, hey, we get this big info dump reveal, and then he dies. He sacrifices himself, and we do get him back in the end. But his story just kind of gets abruptly ended, and then we're like, oh, well, he's back, and they can resolve it. And to her, that was like a big negative. I never saw him that way. I saw him as a supporting character, so it didn't bother me as much as it did.
I think
apparently Kate shared her opinion. Kate was of the mindset too.
We have to also look at Peter comes from a privileged background. Number one, he's a man, but his parents were very high
straight
up
white
in
man
academia themselves, and so, you know, he has a lot more privilege than Alice. Besides, you know, he's a white cis male in England and stuff, but he himself also doesn't know what he wants to do because his parents are wanting him to do one thing, and he ends up falling in love with alchemy and magic and everything and stuff. And so, you know, that's why I personally see this book is like Alice is the main character for sure, and while he's the main lead.
Yeah, I would not have given him deuteragonist status. To me, he was like male lead and supporting character.
Yeah. And Kate, I don't know if you were here. We were talking about Alice and how you know, we need to frame this with the timeline of where we are in the year and how women are viewed and stuff during that time, especially in academia. But it still is very much like to this day and age how women are viewed in academia too as well.
Yeah. All right, so going back to, because we touched on it, the thing about Alice's memory and how Grimes branded her. So for anyone, if you're watching this and haven't read the book and I guess you don't plan to because we're just spoiling it for you. But we're talking about how the magical experiment Grimes is doing. He does like brands or like tattoos her with a magic pentagram that renders her unable to forget anything, and like photographic memory level, waking and asleep, like every moment of her dreams, every waking minute from the moment she got that tattoo to present day in the book, perfectly remembers everything. And the book makes a very clear point to talk about how that her descent into hell started even earlier because that effect it's having on her psyche. Like it's getting harder and harder to distinguish like waking from sleeping because all her dreams are bleeding into real life. She's replaying every negative moment you've ever had because you remember it in perfect clarity, perfect detail. You replay it over in your head along with the good. And it's like your brain not being able to clear its cache or clear cookies, like in a modern day analogy, has a very deleterious effect on her, and she is struggling by the end of the book. My toxic ass trait is knowing this. Like, I get it. I get what the book was saying. And I still, like, I kind of wish I could have that happen to me. Just because from a language learning standpoint, as someone who wants to just, like, learn so many languages, like, she's like, yeah, I can just, like, anything I learn, I'll just never forget it. It's always there immediately. Perfect recall. I'm like, think how many, I could become fluent in every language in the world. I could learn all the things. Knowing the book's told you, no, this is terrible. No one can survive this, but that's my toxic trait. I still kind of wish I could experience that. Oh.
I think I also rely on Alice because academia and the fine arts go really much hand in hand and everything. And it's one thing I got told, and I've carried these words not only from my performance aspect, but for example, for those who are watching the VOD and maybe live, I was at TwitchCon recently. This past weekend, I was in San Diego, and one of my friends, Savannah Lou, amazing Soulsborne creator and singer, got to see her perform, loved it. Someone had asked her for advice over, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say, it was like over about self-doubt and stuff, and basically how to not doubt yourself and having imposter syndrome and stuff within the industry. And I was just sitting down and talked. I looked at this creator and I said, this is something I got told by one of my peers in my music school, and I've carried these words into, streaming as well. But the fact of the matter is the reality is you're not competing against your peers and each other. You're really competing against yourself. And so it's really like you hit your goals. Okay, what's next? What goals are you gonna hit next and everything? And it's like when you hit like burnout sessions, or you hit like this wall of, oh, I can't do this and all that, you have to kind of really sit there and wonder why you're doing that. And you have to have a discussion with yourself over a lot of stuff. And I feel like because Alice is having to confront herself and everything that's happened to her from the past and with her memory and everything, that's that whole, girlie, you're not competing with everyone. You're not competing with Peter and stuff. Like, it, especially once she burns that brand off of her basically through getting rid of the family basically and putting them to rest, which was the right thing to do, obviously, because they were just throwing off the balance of hell in total anyways. So there goes Sheba.
Well,
but it's still like that whole thing, and I think that's something that can be said in academia. Yes, there is this, your success is viewed as success in academia. That's something I think we can both agree on, because the more successful things you have, that's your identity. Your identity in academia is how many successful things you can publish.
You're only as good as the last paper you publish. Yeah.
And so my dogs are playing outside my door. I just heard them.
They want to be involved.
But I think too, like going back to the whole time period too, in the 1980s, and you have the theme of women and stuff as well, because women have different ages and timelines up into even 2025. We have these revolutions almost, whether they're silent revolutions or very large demonstrations and stuff. And I think that, Alice is sitting there. She's basically saying, I'm not like every other girl. I'm not like every other woman. And it's like, no, you are. You just want to differentiate yourself because it makes you feel like you're separate from the mainstream.
Yeah.
When you're just going through the same stuff that your cohorts have been going
I
through
think
too.
also her feeling the need to separate herself and do the I am different, I'm not like most girls, is because we know, especially in that time period, what does happen to most girls.
Yes.
And it's like, if I'm different, then I won't fall prey to those same pitfalls, and I won't. But then of course she does, because the problem is it's systemic in the institution. It is not a failing of any of those women who were victimized. It is a failing of the framework of academia in general, of that level of authority.
And I'm trying to think if I think it was report. Oh yeah, no, she does go to a colleague.
Yeah, she goes to one of the only female professors in their program.
And that woman turns her away basically.
She doesn't turn her away. She basically goes, what do you want from me? I could have told you this was going to happen. I can't fix it. You made your choice. She very much victim blames while also saying, this is part of what happens in academia. Like, accept it. And it's wild.
That's not how it should be. Like, nowadays, it definitely is, like, if you go, it's taken care of now because universities take, like, very serious now. But back then in the 1980s, they didn't care.
And also, it's like, yeah, in 2025, universities would take that shit more seriously, but it's still on the victim to report it. And then we all know there's so many reasons, both, like, legally, politically, morally, personally, ethically, why victims don't come forward, right? So,
yeah,
that's still the bigger, in 2025, I think the problem is, I guess, feeling, like, people who would be in similar situations, feeling confident or safe enough to tell anyone that could do something about the scenario and not just live with it. On a much more lighter, trivial note, I wrote down a question because I found it funny. They both brought a book with them to hell. Like, obviously, they're here for a very big reason. I doubt they're gonna have much time. They're gonna be sitting and being like, oh, I'm just gonna like read for pleasure while I'm in hell. But they both brought a book with them. So if you were journeying to hell, do you know what book you would bring with you? And you can only bring one.
I don't think I would bring a book, honestly.
I feel like I would, just because I'm that person who's like, I've been just so formed by media in my life, and I was a person who had a deep Gilmore Girls phase, and I picked up the Rory habit of I bring an emotional support book everywhere with me. Even if I know I will have no time to read at this event, I still have either a travel size book or my Kindle with me, because you never know. You never know. So
because I was expecting like every night and every morning, like before I like have to get up and get ready, I was gonna read. No, I did not. I read there, and on the way back, I zoned out on the plane ride coming back. I'm gonna be honest. I ate breakfast and like just like was like, I'm so tired.
Yeah, I feel like if I was gonna bring, I'm torn between, would I bring something that is one of my ultimate beloved, like, read for pleasure escapism to help cope with whatever I see in hell, or would I bring something that is going to help me in my journey there, at least, or giving me like hope? I think I'd go with the latter, something that'll just make me feel like this massive task and this journey is possible, and this journey that seems like there will be no return, there is always a chance for a return. And I might bring a copy of like the Iliad and the Odyssey, like in one. Oh, that's a journey that seemed like there's no way in hell, a journey everyone had given up on. It took Odysseus so long to get home, and he faced so many things, but he did it. He got there. It happened. So
I found all
maybe.
I was like, wait, I feel like I like remembered highlighting a bunch of stuff, and it's so funny because like some of the stuff we talked about were a bunch of the things I highlighted.
Yeah.
It too, and I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, oh, but then we talked about it. I can't even remember where they were, but now I found them because like we talked about how like there's like this is about like you're about 50% into this book when this pops up, and this is how we were talking about how Alice views herself separate from all the other women.
Yeah.
Because she goes, Still, there was a general consensus among the women of Alice's cohort that feminism was an embarrassing fad, a bygone fever of the 70s, that's not true. That's just how the women in academia in the 1980s saw it, because there was still a feminist movement happening.
Yeah.
But they thought themselves untouchable by it because they it's that whole academia is the highest thing you can do, and they look down upon the rest of the women who don't do academia,
Yeah.
you know?
There's a lot of actually parallels, I feel like. So if anyone reads this and wants more of that, like the something that touches on being a woman in an academic space dominated by men. When I was last month working at the Toronto Film Festival, one of the movies that premiered and I got tickets for was called Hedda, an adaptation of the Henrik Ibsen play Hedda Gabler, starring Tessa Thompson. And the big change they made in that film, they set it in the 50s instead of when it was in like the 1800s when the original play takes place. And they made Hedda's ex, who, so the premise of the play is like about a woman who again is far too smart and clever for her own good, stuck in this very mundane like role of her life and like what women were expected to live up to, but she clearly, it's like she was smarter than any of the men in that room and she knew it, and she took that out on just like manipulating people because she didn't have a bigger, better outlet for what clearly was a very intelligent and like trapped mind. And so she decides, I'm gonna manipulate my ex and turn my ex against his current lover and like make them want to like kill themselves. The original play is really, really fucked up and dramatic, but this one, the added layer is her, so she's married to, and she in the original play she's married to a professor, but he's a very like average professor. He's not the professor who's winning awards, getting published. He's a professor who some people might even be wondering, like, how are you still relevant? How are you still even around? Like, you're not competing with the upper levels. And her ex is one of those, like, pushing boundaries award-winning professors. And in the movie, this adaptation, they've not only made it in the 50s, and Hedda's a black woman, but her ex is a woman. Hedda's bisexual. And her ex is one of the only female professors in a male-dominated university and is still trying to break that, like, glass ceiling. Like, she's a professor. She's, like, respected, in air quotes, but everyone knows there's a very obvious still, like, you are not in the same tier as the rest of us. And she's trying to fight past that. And there's a lot of similarities, in the themes of this book and Alice's journey. So if you want to see like a screen film version that touches on similar themes and also in a time period that is like before our own, everyone go watch the new film Hedda, starring Tessa Thompson, also directed by a black woman whose name I am forgetting. I'm gonna look it up.
I think it's also cool too because like there is stuff in this book that you can compare to 2025.
Yeah.
Not only with academia, but like feminism and stuff. Because there's also this line. She thought she learned to inhabit the impossible ideal. The girl who was eminently fuckable and but unreachable, and therefore virtuous and perfect, which we can touch on the topic of virtuous in a minute. The girl who was everything all at once. It was the waning days of second wave feminism, and all the girls in Alice's generation were so tired of being told they'd been born to be raped, oppressed, silenced. Surely this was not the entire picture. Surely there was some power in their sex. And it is, I think it took her a while to actually like figure out what that power was. Like she gets there at the end.
Yeah. FYI, the director of that film is Nia DaCosta, if anyone's curious.
Ooh, I'll have to look that
Go
up.
watch it. Good film.
I think the other reason I really like Katabasis is because there's so much philosophical stuff, and virtue is one of those big things in the magic world of Katabasis.
Yeah.
And so people can understand, virtue has been around since the ancient Greeks, since the days of Plato and Socrates and everything. Virtue has been, even today in modern philosophy, virtue is a huge topic and still a huge debate about things because, you know, the modern philosophical people, when people are studying philosophy in modern times, they're still expanding on everything that was back in the ancients of, you know, ancient Romans and Greeks and stuff to, you know, the Middle Ages to semi-modern, but it's not really modern, but it's when like a lot of the works like the Prince is published and stuff, when you have your Renaissance era, that's usually considered like modern according to some schools of philosophy when you're being taught and stuff. But virtue's been like a very huge thing. And I like how this has a play in this world. Philosophy actually in this novel has a very, it's their magic system really is a bunch of philosophy based.
Yeah, their magic system is physics plus logic meet philosophy is basically.
Yeah, it's all like this blend. And it's great because the logic plays in philosophy too. Because a lot of the logical systems that the philosophies end up playing upon came from philosophical ideals that they take and add the logic side into and stuff, which was cool. But so virtue has like Aristotle has like a different view of virtue. You know, Plato has a different view of virtue. Voltaire has a different view of virtue. It's so different, especially because a lot of the time too, and I think this is also touch base in Katabasis, is the soul as well. And soul is a highly debated topic in philosophy as well. So it's like it's kind of nice to see this blend of stuff. Magic system, yes.
Yeah, basically, yes, Briar, this book's magic system is we temporarily convince the laws of physics that they're wrong through like logic and philosophy, and then literally you're temporarily fooling the universe, and eventually it catches on. And like the stronger your paradox, the longer your magic, or the stronger your magic will be, the weaker the paradox, like the shorter the effect will be. But yeah, I took great joy in a magic system where the literal function is tricking temporarily tricking the laws of physics to get what we want. Find fascinating.
Yeah. And I would also say, to go back, I should have said this beforehand when we were talking about how people were like, oh my god, like, you need to read this and this and this and this. Guys, that's supplementary reading. If you really want to do a deep dive on stuff that's, like, brought up, like Dante, any of the philosophical texts, any of the logical theories are brought up, that stuff you can read after, once you, like, if you feel like you need more context, or if it interests you. You don't need to read those to enjoy this book. You don't need to read any book like that is dark academia. You do not need to read these prerequisites.
No.
At all. And I will keep shouting that till the day I die.
Really, any book in general, the only time there is required reading is if you're reading like book 5 in a really long series. Like you want to go read like book 10 of the Wheel of Time. Okay, there's required reading. You should probably read books 1 through 9. But like other than that, nah. Like, will your experience be different than someone who has read these other texts? Sure. But it's just like how there's no wrong way to read, like the whole, like, reading via audiobook, via e-reader, via physical book. There's no wrong way to do it. There's no wrong way to read a book either. Unless you want to, like, read a series backwards or something. But you do you. At the end of the day, you do you.
Right way to read a book. So that's why it's like I probably geeked out on this book a lot more because I have that background. So for me, my reading experience from maybe the average reader completely different than, say, because like I also said, I feel like a bunch of the people who got PR, we're not the targeted audience.
Well, again, I feel like people reading this thought they were going to get. They thought that the Peter and Alice love story would have been much more at the forefront. They thought Hell and Academia were a setting to a love story, and that's not what this is. This is a story about the dangers of academia and navigating academia as a woman and a woman of color, and a love story also happens to be happening at the same time. Like,
and you also have to remember that academia and hell equal each other. Academia is hell, because you also have to hear, this is a little bit spoily probably, but
this whole video has been a little bit spoily, but heads up, Briar. Heads up.
But as you are going through the circles of hell in Katabasis, it keeps changing, and you get like the library maybe at the university, or you get the buildings of the university and stuff, and that's how it alludes to hell is just academia in another scenario, in another setting.
Yeah, I think I used the quote when I made the little promo graphic for our pick, when our book club picked this one. I used the quote like, hell is a university campus.
University.
Like as on the poster.
Yeah.
It was a pizza anus, not a pizza nipple. That's what they described Peter's map as, a pizza anus. Which, okay, that's the part where, because I also think a lot of people didn't like this book because so many people don't like to be confronted with gaps in their knowledge. People don't like to feel stupid when they read. Some of my favorite books have made me feel stupid as hell. Like, for example, where is it? This book. This bitch right here, okay? There's even tabs in it. I only understood about 30% of what happened in this goddamn book. Did it absolutely devastate me? Yes. Have I read the whole series? Yes. Do I still only know maybe about 35% of what happened in this book? Yes. Do I feel lesser for, like, not being able to, like, understand every intricacy, every nuance, missing a reference or two? No. It doesn't matter. So if you're gonna really get up in arms, if you are reading a book and you're like, oh... If you take it personally, if a book makes you feel inferior just because you aren't on the same knowledge base as the author, that's a you problem. That is not the book's problem.
Yes.
Also, everyone should go read Gideon the Ninth. I mean, lesbian necromancers explore a haunted gothic palace in space. That's what I was like. That sounds incredible. I read it. It's so much more than that. It's a lot.
The thing too is that with this whole entire book is satiring hell in academia and stuff as a whole, because you have the academic system of publications, peer reviewing, a bunch of people in academia are status seeking, there's the exploitation of students, as we taught, there's also the debt, and it's not just like the monetary sense, it's emotional debt that goes into academia and stuff. And so
for anyone wondering, this is the pizza anus. I don't see what they see personally. I don't think this looks like a pizza. I get that maybe the pizza, like the layers of the circles, like a pizza pie, and I guess it looks like a sphincter to them. So pizza anus, but this was someone's map of hell. But I will say, the parts that made me feel dumb, all the different maps of hell, I didn't understand any of them. Like, I don't understand how, because like this is a map, this right here, which I maybe kind of get, but not as much. And these.
If we go, like, okay, so now how we were talking about virtue and the soul and how so many philosophers have a totally different idea and all that, that's where that plays into. There's all these different ideas. So there's all these different ideas of how hell looks like.
Oh, I get that there could be competing maps of hell. I'm saying anytime they showed the visuals of their drawn maps, I was like, none of their drawn maps made sense to my brain. My brain could not compute. Well, but I'm not getting mad at the book about it, or at Rebecca Kuang for being like, you're trying to be so elitist and you're just trying to look how smart you're trying to be. And I don't feel inferior because this woman is smarter than me, okay? This is basically the TLDR.
But I think it definitely helps give that idea of like how everyone in academia has different views and like visual views, ideal views, and everything. So I think that's why there's just so many different maps and stuff too, because you have people who went to hell and they've made these maps. Then you have people who didn't went to hell. They study those maps and disagree with the maps that were drawn and stuff. So that's why there's so many different maps, because there's so much disagreement still, even though you have literal proof from people who went to hell and wrote about their trips and stuff.
I guess there's one more topic this book touches on that we haven't gotten into yet, and this is also trigger warning for anyone watching now or watching the video. I'm going to talk about suicide and suicidal ideation, so if that's a trigger for you, thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the next book club. So we're doing this live right now. I can't tell you when it ends. In the description, I can put a timestamp when we're done talking about this, when this goes to YouTube. Another thing that I found very, for me, endearing to this book was, because Alice talks about her struggle with suicidal ideation that came on very slowly and came on gradually after the branding, after what's going on with her memory and whatnot. And I found that, because so many times I've read a lot of books where that is a theme, that is something a character or characters go through, and I have IRL experience of various people I know who have had ideation of the same sort, have survived attempts and are doing much better now, because yay therapy, yay for medications. But I found it really refreshing, because so often I feel like we see we see it discussed as a response to trauma. We see it discussed in the very dramatic, rapid onset. I found it very rarely. I realize how rarely I've seen it in literature. This incredibly slow, gradual, almost like you don't even realize it's happening. You don't even realize your brain is having these thoughts. Because it wasn't immediately, I want to end my life. Hers, it was more of it became a complacency with like, oh, if something bad happened to me, I wouldn't be upset about it. Or like, oh, if I were to get hit by a bus right now, oh hey, maybe I wouldn't be that distraught about it. And like how that happens so subtly and over so much time, she didn't notice the shift until all of a sudden she was hit by the, oh my god, like I maybe don't want to continue living. And the surprise of that was very interesting to read about.
So I think so. I come from a primarily fine arts background, and in the sense of performing vocally, instrumentally, all that kind. And I have had so many discussion with peers at my own school where they were like, we would all like hang out and talk, and they were telling me stuff. And to preface this, and we're still gonna keep on the whole trigger warning stuff, I deal with my own mental demons. I have been for ages. And when you're in a highly competitive industry, it doesn't help, because it is like a gradual thing. It's not like you wake up one day and you have these thoughts, and so I've had so many conversations with peers who they would tell me stuff, and I'm like, hey, I've been where you are, here's some like help. I would give them help links and stuff, and I would be like, I think you need to go to therapy, and if you need help finding that, I can help you. I actually helped one of my good friends actually get into therapy, and they're in their master's program right now and doing amazing. But in highly competitive fields like academia and the fine arts field especially, your sense of worth is in what you do. Yeah. And this is also, you can compare this in the content creation field too, because at the end of the day, you're performing, really.
At the end of the day, you are boiled down to your output. In academia, your output of papers, of like contributions to research, to ideas. In the content world, to like your latest stream, the output, your numbers. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. In fine arts, your creations,
it's not like a sudden onset thing. It's a very gradual thing that happens for a lot of people. And for a lot of us, if we put it to the side and ignore it, great. And that's what Alice does.
She talked about just distracting herself endlessly so she couldn't think about it.
She justifies why she's putting it to the side through, if I just don't, if it happens to me or whatever, it didn't really happen, and here's why, and all that. That happens for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And everything. And so if you ever feel like this, if this conversation resonates to you and you end up feeling like this, there are resources out there for you. There's Straight Love in Her Arms, which has a wonderful site for stuff. Twitch also has their own things. I will preface that I am a Straight Love on Her Arms ambassador, and I can highly attest to their resources on their site. They have resources to help if you're actively thinking about self-harm, about suicide. They have stuff to help grounding exercises. They have a way for different hotlines for you to reach and everything. They have different resources. And of course, that's just one site for resources. There's so
I put 2 in the chat. If anyone watching now, this discussion, maybe you didn't think it would upset you, but it has.
Yeah.
There's some links in the chat.
If anything we've talked about makes you have this realization, I want y'all to know that it does not hurt you or anyone else to reach out and ask for help. I want you to get help. Like, you deserve the love and the care that you might put towards out to other people and that you think you don't deserve. You deserve that so much as well.
Like Alice learns in this book, you are not judged by you are not boiled down to just like your output, your contribution to the world, to whatever your field is. Like, you have merit, you have value for existing. You deserve to be here no matter what you're doing. It does not matter.
Exist no matter what. And if anyone tells you you don't, I don't want to advocate for hurting them, but you should give them some stern wording, you know?
Maybe some distance from that person in your life.
Yeah,
you know?
like, you know.
The moment in the book where, because basically the ending of this book is Alice, despite her having, you know, struggling with suicidal ideation, is her finally realizing, you know what? Yeah, I've been having this struggle. I've been having those thoughts, but like, they're not going to win because I want more from life and I have goals. And I do want to be here. And that is the ultimate decision she makes. And it reminded me a lot, the overlap, and my nerd on full display here. And obviously it's not a one-to-one comparison, but like the moment Alice has her realization at the end of I want a life and I want a life with this person and I still have things I want to do, remind me so much of the moment in One Piece, the anime, where Robin in the Water 7 arc, where Robin has the like, I want to be on the crew, I want to live, like, yeah, because Robin also had a similar struggle. So if you watched One Piece and that moment with Robin resonating with you, then maybe read this book. You never know. maybe it's your vibe. I would love to keep chatting for ages about this. I do have to wrap up soonish because I have to go wake up to Pupper from his nap. So before we wrap up, quick pause there. Briar, you can't bring up that name, okay? I would love to relate it to Gale in Baldur's Gate 3. I've never seen the end of Gale's story, because Gale dies in every playthrough I've done, because I am cursed. So, sorry, I'm triggered. Gale, making light of that phrase, I am also sorry. I get so tilted. I'm so mad, because I have tried in 3 playthroughs to romance that man and get to the end, but things just keep happening.
See, you had to romance him back before they, like, fix the bug where he was just like straight up like right there, because that's how I first romanced him.
Well, and it's so many of my playthroughs I get him really far up, like Gale, because I mean I love the man. Gale seems to be, as far as I've got with him, a little bit of a slut. He's the easiest for me to get that beat up, but then things just keep happening where he gone, and it's most of the time it's half in my control, half outside of my control. Anyways, sorry for the sidebar. We're not here to talk about Baldur's Gate 3, but Briar in chat mentioned Gale, and then I got very upset. So back to business. Do you have any final thoughts or discussion points you want to bring up, Marjorie, about Katabasis, not about Baldur's Gate 3?
Don't let the reviews of people turn you away from this book. It's not a difficult book. It's difficult if you listen to what others tell you. And that can be said for every book, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
this book's only difficult if you go into it and you're like, I want to understand like the nuance and all the history, and like I want to know the background for everything that is brought up or referenced at any point in this book. Yeah, it's going to be hard for you, but you are setting yourself up for failure if you want to go into this book and read that, unless you have the exact same like combo of degrees and training that RF Kuang does, or you want to spend time to go do all this pre-research. But you do not need to. Like, and also half the time they talk about the magic and like the logic paradoxes they're using to do the magic. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't understand what they were talking about. But does it impede my ability to absorb the story as a whole, the greater themes and the characters? No, not at all.
And I want to end on my thoughts of, if you are one of those who have read this and you continuously want to bring up RF Kuang's race and her accolades of her knowledge and her degrees and stuff, I really need you to sit down and have a conversation with yourself about why you are feeling that way, and have a discussion about your racism, because I've seen so much racism happening through discussions of people reviewing this book, and it's disgusting.
Yeah. Kate, I also initially gave this a 3.5 or like a 3.75, but I feel like I might bump it up to 4. One, because one of my issues I had with it, Marjorie brought up a very good point, and I was like, oh, I didn't think about it that way, so now I have less of an issue with it. But also, yeah, sometimes books are like that. Like, you sit with them longer, and then your opinions kind of change. But then I'm like, well, should I go back and change the rating, or should I keep it true to like my first thought? And I don't know. I have a debate. The one thing though, there is one more thing that maybe kept it from a 5. Again, we can't go too crazy, but I'd love to know your thoughts. And it's also something that was in Newly Nova's video. Again, shout out to another booktuber creator. Her criticism, and I didn't realize I had the same thought until I heard her say it, but it was in the back of my head. The Crypt Keys felt very almost like cartoony villain, because their backstory, fascinating, loved it. And I thought when we finally got to meet them, there'd at least be a little bit more conversation or interplay. We get a little bit of time with them through the lens of Alice, and we really did it. They were just very like kind of evil villain, other than the moment where like the mom and the son like walk into the Leith, and like that was super almost like cathartic and emotional for me. But I wanted more from the Crypt Keys. They were such an interesting thing that we didn't really get a lot of.
Because we talked about it, is there's this element of madness that happens.
And they've been there for a while.
They went there to prove themselves, and they lost themselves to the madness they already had on the human plane of existence, to now they're in the plane of the underworld, and they've changed there. They were changed in the landscape, but they were losing themselves to how the laws of the magic system work. They were defying it, actually, as we kept seeing too. So they had an element of madness, and that was really, I feel like, showing this is what happens when you go too deep in the deep end.
When you go native, when you become a native of hell.
And everything. So
well, again, there we go. Like my main thing is just I wanted an epilogue so bad. I'm just like, I need to know how people respond to. I need to know what they share, what they don't share. What does the world think? I need to know.
Babel's getting a sequel. Evidently.
Is it?
So yeah.
Oh, I'm not emotionally prepared for that.
Eventually,
oh no.
This might get a sequel too, eventually, maybe, probably. So.
Oh, if Babel gets a sequel, y'all, I'm taking days off work. I'm telling my husband he's on dog duty. I'm gonna shut myself in a room and just sit there and read that book till it's done. Babel's one of my favorite books ever written. Babel is my I will never shut up about this 5-star. And Marjorie's reading it right now, so no one say anything. But obviously it's not one of our official book club books, but you need to tell me, or again, just talk about it in the Discord when you're done, because I just want to talk about it. Then if you haven't already, please join our book club Discord. If you are also a reader, a lover of books, if you maybe wish you read a little more and you're looking for recommendations, link is in the chat, !book club if you need it again. And we don't just have to talk about books we're currently reading. You guys can talk about whatever you're currently reading, whether it's our like official club pick or not. I feel like I need to keep reiterating that, because it seems like it's like people think we can only be talking about what we're currently reading or one of the books we have read in the past as a club. Use the Discord. Talk about whatever you want.
I want to preface this. I don't always read what we're reading that month, because I sometimes just don't have time.
Yeah,
put
exactly.
It in the back of my mind, I'll read it eventually. But, maybe what gets picked may not be your cup of tea, and that's okay.
It's the lowest maintenance book club you'll ever join. Not everyone who is in the Discord has to read our pick. Sometimes we'll do 2 a month, because I try and get another one in there, because I know a lot of people want to read something different, even though another book got voted on. You also can suggest books for us to vote on at any time. So the last thing we'll do before we close out actually is, Marjorie, do you have any books you want to put on our list? Because it is... we're in the back half of October. We'll be voting on our November book soon. I keep putting Poppy War, and it keeps getting close, and people don't pick it. But like, it's right there. The whole trilogy is sitting on my shelf.
Maybe we just need to pick it and say, hey, this is gonna be the second book of the month. So anyone who wants to read it.
Maybe for November, what we'll do is we'll do a vote. But we'll do another tandem month where there's 2. I'm like, so we're reading Poppy War, and me and Marjorie will talk about Poppy War with anyone else who wants to. But
how about this? Let's give this idea. How about we set up like an end date and we read the entire series?
Ooh, because I just bought the whole series. Because R.F. Kuang's an author that I know I will enjoy her books, so even if I haven't read the first one, I immediately bought the whole trilogy. They're right there. Chilling right there. So I'm down for that.
I'm trying to think of... I can't think of any books off the top of my head, because I've been so much... Go on stuff. It's been wild, y'all. I just came back from TwitchCon, and so my brain is kind of like fried. So thinking of books off the top of my head has just been like I don't know. Where's my Goodreads actually? I have it up. Hello? That's a fanfic. Hello. My books. What's in my
I counted how many
my
books I have now that I finally got new shelves, and I finally had a chance to put them all somewhere where they live. So I own, including my tabletop RPG books, like 370 plus books. Of those, about 77 on this shelf have not been read yet, but that's only like 23%, which is not bad, in my opinion.
Oh, what do I want to read?
Anyone in chat, if you have recommendations, put them here. Or again, in our book club Discord, you can at any time submit a title and be like, hey, can this be added to our next like book club vote? And I'll be like, fuck yeah. One I want to read really bad. I keep putting, hold up. I keep putting this book in there as well, and I still haven't read it, but now I've had a reinvigorated need to read it. It's a horror novel about a ballerina who descends into the Paris catacombs and makes a deal with a demon down there to be like a better ballerina. I have a mild obsession with the Paris catacombs, and like if I die before getting to go down there, I'll be deeply upset. And that's been reinvigorated lately, and I want to be a cataphile, but I never will. So I really want to read this.
So I have The Night and the Moth by Rachel.
Oh, that's on my list. So heck yeah. Hold on, let me.
And then also,
Night is like, it's like medieval night, like night with a K, right?
Yeah. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber.
I own Caraval and still haven't read it. It's on my not read physical TBR.
I think I actually read that.
Is Once Upon a Broken Heart separate from that? Like, you don't have to read. I know we were just like, you don't have to read whatever, read what you want. But, like, it's not related to the Caraval trilogy, or is it? I don't remember.
I don't know. I also know, what was it? Phantasmo or Phantasma or whatever?
Phantasma. Yeah, I watched that one. I already know how it ends because I watched a book about it, or a YouTube video about it.
Interesting. The first book was a very interesting book.
Yeah, if anyone likes horror novels, someone read this, so I have someone to talk about it with when I read it afterwards. It's called it has a really long title too. I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me by Jamison Shea. Also, diversify your reading. Black authors, black characters. Yeah, and I was gonna read it this month, and I brought it with me to my mom's house when I was babysitting her dog for her. But then I was like, I'm home alone for a week in a cabin in the woods in a real isolated place. Maybe I don't want to read a horror novel by myself, so I didn't read it.
I actually need to go through my phone because I have a bunch of book photos on my phone that I go, oh, I want to read these, but I want to see if they're on Kindle Unlimited. So
right. Yeah. So The Night and the Moth, I also want to read that because I read One Dark Window by the same author, Rachel Gillig, and everyone else fucking loves that book and that duology. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed her writing style a lot, and I loved the book until the end. I hated the ending so much, it pissed me off that I don't want to read the sequel. I probably will eventually, just so I could say I like finished the duology, because it's only a duology. But, so I want to read something else by her, because I liked her writing. I was like, do you just always make choices that make me angry, or is it just this one book? Anyways, that was our discussion, oopsies, on Katabasis, or Katabasis, depending on your choice of pronunciation, by R.F. Kuang. Thanks for joining us today. If you were here live in the stream, we appreciate you.
Question for you.
Yes.
Do you want to read out into a co-working?
Hell yeah, I was going to ask you if you have a suggestion. I am all for it.
Let's see.
Quick also sidebar, because a lot of times I ask, and especially since me and Marjorie are both ambassadors for Cosmic Candles, last question, is there a candle from Cosmic Candles that you would say goes with this book? I'm burning mine right now. Spellbook, because it literally smells like old books and magic. Spellbook. Right here.
I know it is leather bound, and I think Kate, it didn't get a different name
It is leather bound now. Leather bound is the new name, so I shouldn't shout it out as Spellbook, but the leather bound candle would still apply for this book. Again, academia, books, research, knowledge, perfection. So yeah, that's my candle to burn while reading Katabasis. Leather bound, formerly known as Spellbook.
DM you a link to a co-working stream.
Do you want to give me the username and I'll pull it up?
Oh, I just send it to you.
Oh.
DMs.
Alright, camera's gonna go weird for a second, y'all. Don't judge. Oh, I already followed that one. I knew it. I was like, how much do you want to bet? Yeah, I follow her. I lurk in there and get stuff done sometimes. So we're gonna raid. Let me copy this username so I don't fuck it up.
If Shania was streaming, I would have also suggested Shania. Shania, I have one from. She sold out day one of her.
Oh my god, that's
stuff.
so cute! Little Shrek hat, that's incredible.
So when I get back into co-working, once it's like winter, I'll be wearing this a little bit more.
I've been doing some co-working streams lately because with the new pupper, I have less time to do work. I can only co-work when work when he's napping. I can only stream when he's napping, so co-working streams be the thing. Thanks for hanging, y'all. If you don't see me tomorrow, the next time you'll see me for sure is Thursday, and I'm gonna be doing a stream team, squad stream, playing with some other side questies. We're gonna be playing Fortnite because we all realized we all have skins. Because I did reinstall the game just to buy the K-pop Demon Hunter skins because I have a problem.
I have them too.
And then we realized all of us have skins that are like some sort of girly pop star. Like they have the Ariana Grande, the Sabrina Carpenter, and I was like, so girl pop band squad, Fortnite, yes. And that's what we're doing. Me, Star, Star Relight, and Roars are gonna be playing Fortnite together on Thursday. So I might stream tomorrow, I might not, but I'll definitely see you Thursday. And go check out Marjorie, aka Creative Desires, on her own channel, as you heard, doing co-working and among other things.
I'll be live tomorrow night and stuff with probably TwitchCon recap and then maybe a chill game after. So
there you go. Raiding in 8 seconds. Thanks for being here, everyone. If you're not a sub, pick whatever emote you want to throw in that raid command. Bye.
Bye.
All right, the raid is out.